Jesus once made a promise about prayer so extravagant that if anyone other than him had said it, you would call it foolishness. He said that if you would go into a room and shut the door and pray to a Father you cannot see, then that Father who sees everything that happens in secret would reward you openly out in the light where the results could not be hidden. Stop and let the size of that sink in. There is a hidden economy running underneath the entire Christian life, a secret exchange in which what is done quietly, unseen, behind a closed door, is repaid by God out in the open. And almost no one alive is living in it. That is what tonight is about. The hidden prayer life that God rewards in secret. Not the prayers we say in front of other people, not the polished, public, performed spirituality that everyone can see. The other one. The one with the door shut. The one no human being will ever witness. Because according to Jesus, that hidden room is where your real life with God is actually being decided. Be honest with yourself for a moment. Most of us have a Christianity that is almost entirely public. We pray when others are listening. We worship in a crowd. We fill ourselves with sermons and songs and devotionals made by other people, and we live off the overflow of their secret lives, and we have almost no secret room of our own. Our faith is all fruit and no root, all branches and no hidden spring. And then we stand there puzzled, wondering why it feels so thin, why there is so little weight to it, why God seems to answer other people and quietly pass us by. The reason is not that God is playing favorites. The reason is that the reward is tied to the room. The weight you are missing in the open was always meant to be grown in secret, and there is a secret place with your name on it that you have simply never entered. The man whose teaching carries this message spent his whole life on his knees in that room and traced every ounce of spiritual power he ever saw straight back to it. E.M. Bounds was a pastor and a writer who gave the last years of his life to one burning conviction, that the hidden life of prayer is the hidden source of everything, and that the church had grown powerless for one simple reason, that it had stopped meeting God in secret. He rose before the sun to pray while the world still slept, and he wrote his great works out of a well he had dug alone, in the dark, with the door shut. This message was built on the teachings of E.M. Bounds, and we send it with one honest prayer, that God would use it to lead you into the one room that changes all the others, not to add more religious noise to your life, to take you into the silence where He is actually found. And wherever you're hearing this from, a quiet house in Denver, a long night in San Antonio, the end of a shift in Portland, a rainy evening in Birmingham, a small flat in Nottingham, a car parked somewhere in Glasgow, a farm town in Kentucky where the nearest light is a mile off, this message is for you. Put the noise down for half an hour, and let God show you the door you have been walking past your whole life. But first, one word, because there is help waiting for you tonight. If you have longed to build a real hidden life with God, a daily walk with Him that actually carries weight, but you have never known how to begin or how to keep it going, then we built something for exactly that. And today it comes with a gift. It is called the War Room Manual. 30 days that take you by the hand and help you build your own secret place one day at a time, with a simple daily plan, an audio guide to walk beside you, and a journal to keep you in the room when it gets hard. And today it comes with 3 exclusive companion books completely free to get you started. You will find it in the link in the description below, or in the very first comment pinned right under this video. Go and open it now. Before the noise pulls you away again, keep it close and then come back and hear the rest. Because the secret place is where everything changes. And tonight, God wants to show you the door.
There is a law woven all through the scriptures, and once you truly see it, you begin to see it everywhere. The visible is always the overflow of the invisible. What a tree is above the ground is decided entirely by what it is below the ground, in the dark, in the hidden root system that no one ever sees. A tree does not grow tall by working on its branches. It grows tall by going deep. And the life of a man or woman with God works in exactly the same way. Everything that is visible and weighty and real in a person's walk with God, the peace, the quiet authority, the answered prayer, the presence that others can somehow feel, was grown first in a place that no one can see. It is fruit, and all fruit has a hidden root. When Jesus told us to shut the door and pray in secret, he was not being poetic. He was telling us where the root goes. He was showing us the hidden soil where a real life with God actually grows. So what is this hidden prayer life exactly? It is the closet that Jesus spoke of, which was never a literal wardrobe, but any private place where a person can be utterly alone with God, unseen, unheard, with the door shut on the whole watching world. It is the prayer that has no audience and nothing to gain from anyone, because no one even knows it is happening. It is you and God in a room, in secret. Bounds gave his life to studying the men and women whose walk with God carried genuine weight, tracing their public power backward like a river to its source. And he found the very same thing every single time. The source was always hidden. Behind every life that truly moved God, there was a secret room and a shut door and long hours that no one ever saw. The hidden prayer life is not a nice addition to the Christian life. According to Bounds, it is the engine room of the entire thing. And do not imagine this is only for a few unusually spiritual people, because the greatest examples in all of Scripture lived by it. Even Jesus, the very Son of God, who could have justified skipping it more than anyone who ever lived, is described again and again slipping away from the crowds, rising a great while before day, and departing into a solitary place, alone, to pray. If the Son of God sustained his public life out of a hidden one, what makes us think we can live without it? And think of Daniel, a man who carried staggering authority in the most powerful empire on earth, whose secret was a private discipline of kneeling in his own house 3 times a day to pray, a hidden habit so unshakable that he kept it even when it was made a crime punishable by death. And it was that secret life that produced the public deliverance when the lions' mouths were shut. The pattern never changes. Hidden root, visible fruit, secret prayer, open reward. Now notice something in the promise of Jesus that is dangerously easy to rush past, because it is the very hinge of the whole thing. He did not simply say, "Your Father will reward you." He said, "Your Father, which seeth in secret, shall reward you." The reward is tied to the secrecy itself. And he said it for a reason, because he had just finished warning about people who prayed in order to be seen by others. And he said something sobering about them, that they already have their reward in full. The applause of people was all they were ever after, and the applause of people was all they got, and not one thing more. But the person who prays where only God can see is after something else entirely, and receives something else entirely. The secrecy is the test of the motive. It strips away every audience but one. And what is done purely for God, with no one else watching, God repays with a reward that no public performed prayer could ever earn. And what is that reward? We assume at first that it must simply be answered requests, God granting us the things we ask for behind the closed door, and he does answer. Real prayer genuinely moves the hand of God, and the secret place is where the great answers are born. But the deepest reward of the hidden life is not the things God gives. It is God himself. The person who meets God faithfully in secret finds that the presence begins to follow them out of the room. They carry something now. There is a weight to them, a nearness, a quiet authority they are not performing and could not fake, and everyone around them can feel it even though no one can quite explain it, because the source is hidden. That is the open reward for the secret life. God does not merely answer the one who seeks him in secret. God gives himself to that person, and a life saturated with the presence of God has been rewarded beyond anything this world could ever offer. And do not think for a single moment that the reward stays hidden along with the room. Part of what God does with the secret life is answer it, out loud, in the visible world, where other people are left wondering how. There is a kind of ledger that heaven keeps, the requests poured out in private over months and years before a Father who sees in secret, and the answers that come in his own time, out in the open, in a healed body, a rescued marriage, a child who finally came home, a door that swung wide when every human effort had failed. Bounds believed with his whole heart that history itself had been shaped by prayers prayed in secret rooms by people the world never knew, that the great visible works of God were simply the open answers to invisible prayers. And the same is true, on a smaller scale, of a single ordinary life. Much of what you most long to see happen out in the open will only ever be born in secret, on your knees, behind a shut door, in the presence of the God who loves to reward in public what was asked of him in private. This is exactly why the timing of it mattered so deeply to Bounds, and why he returned to it again and again. He said, as plainly as it can be said, that the men who have done the most for God have been early on their knees. Not the most gifted, not the most educated, or eloquent, or naturally impressive, the early risers, the ones who gave God the first and the best of the day in secret before the world could get its hands on them and fill them with itself. There is something about seeking God in the hidden hour before the noise begins, offering him the first fruits of your strength instead of the exhausted leftovers at the end, that heaven has always answered with a particular kind of power. The giants of the faith were not manufactured in public. They were made in secret, early, on their knees, in a room the world never saw. And here is a truth that every honest teacher, preacher, or parent eventually discovers. You can only pour out in the open what you first took in secret. You cannot give away what you do not have. The person who tries to live a public life for God with an empty secret life is like a man trying to draw water from a well he has never dug. Sooner or later, he is scraping the bottom, running on fumes, performing a fullness he does not actually possess. Every genuinely spiritual thing you will ever offer another human being, every word of real comfort, every prayer with weight, every ounce of patience and grace, was first received by you in private, in the hidden place, from God. The public ministry is only ever as deep as the secret life beneath it. Neglect the room, and eventually there is nothing real left to give. Tend the room, and you will find you always have something to pour out, because you are drawing from a hidden well that never runs dry. But here is the crisis of our particular moment, the thing that would have grieved Bounds to his very core if he could see it. We have built a Christianity that is almost entirely public and almost entirely borrowed. We live off other people's secret lives. We stream the sermons that other men wrote out of their hidden hours. We sing the songs that were born in someone else's secret place. We fill every spare minute with spiritual content produced by people who paid the price in private, and we mistake the consuming of it for a life of our own. But you cannot borrow a root. You can listen to 1,000 hours of other people's overflow and still have no hidden spring of your own. And deep down, you know it. Because there is a thinness to a borrowed faith that no amount of content can ever fill. We have become experts at the public and total strangers to the secret. And that is exactly why so many of us feel so powerless and so dry and so far away. And this is precisely why no amount of gathering with others, however good and needful it is, can ever fully substitute for it. There is a real and beautiful place for the crowd, for worship together, for the church, and God meets his people there in ways he meets them nowhere else. But the crowd can never give you what the secret room gives, and it was never meant to. In the crowd you can hide, in the room you cannot. In the crowd you can be carried along by everyone else's faith. In the room you have only your own. In the crowd there is always something happening to fill the silence. In the room there is only you and God, and the plain truth about where you actually stand with him. That is exactly why so many people love the gathering and quietly avoid the closet. The gathering asks so little of the real self, and the closet asks for all of it. But it is in the closet, and not the crowd, that a life with God is actually built. The public gathering was always meant to be the overflow of 1,000 secret meetings, never a replacement for even one of them. And understand this, because it is a solemn thing. The secret place is never actually empty. Something always fills your hidden life, the private hours no one sees, the thoughts you think when the door is shut and no one is watching. The same secrecy that could hide a life of devotion can just as easily hide a life of quiet sin. And whatever you feed in secret is what will quietly come to rule you. Most people never choose. They simply let the hidden hours fill themselves with the endless scroll, the private indulgence, the secret bitterness, the things done in the dark. But the room was made for God. And the great question of your life is not whether you will have a secret life, because you already do. The question is what you will fill it with. Fill it with Him, deliberately, and the same hidden power that ruins so many in secret will begin to remake you in secret instead. And the reason so few people ever build a hidden life of prayer is that the hidden life is, by its very nature, the one thing you get no credit for. Everything in us wants to be seen. We will happily do the visible, applauded public parts of faith, the parts that other people notice and admire. But the secret place offers nothing at all to the ego. No one will ever know you were there. No one will like it, or share it, or think more highly of you because of it. The entire transaction happens where no human eye can reach, which means that to build a hidden prayer life, you have to be willing to pour your very best hours into something that will never once make you look good in front of anyone. And in a world utterly addicted to being seen, that is a price most people quietly decide they simply will not pay. So they stay in the public and skip the secret, and never once understand why the reward never comes. And if you are sitting there right now, quietly certain that this hidden life must be for holier people than you, for those with more discipline or better words or some spiritual gift you were never handed, then hear the most freeing thing in this entire message. The secret place has no entrance requirements at all. God is not standing on the other side of that door, grading your grammar, or timing your minutes, or comparing your stumbling prayers to anyone else's. He's not impressed by eloquence, and he's not put off by weakness. He is simply achingly glad that you finally came. The room is open to the exhausted, the distracted, the ashamed, the ones who do not know how to pray and can barely string two honest sentences together. In fact, those are the very ones he most delights to meet there, because they come with nothing to offer but their need, which is the only thing the secret place has ever really asked for. You do not have to be good at this. You only have to go in. The going in is the whole of it, and he will do the rest. And when a person does finally step into that room, there is a threshold almost everyone stumbles at, so you may as well know it is coming. The secret place is often dry at first. You will go in expecting to feel God, and frequently you will feel nothing at all. Your mind will wander to 100 things. The minutes will crawl. You will get up feeling as though nothing happened, and a voice will immediately tell you that you are wasting your time, that this is not for someone like you, that the people who meet God like this must simply be different from you. And most people believe that voice and quit within a week. But hear this clearly. The dryness is not the sign that it is not working. The dryness is the beginning of the work. Faithfulness in the secret place, when you feel nothing and receive nothing you can measure, is the very thing God is watching for, because a person who will seek Him in the dark, with no reward in sight, is a person who actually wants God and not merely His gifts. Keep going through the dryness, and you will find the well was there the entire time. It was simply deeper than the quitters were ever willing to dig. And understand that the hidden life works by quiet accumulation, not by dramatic explosion, which is another reason our impatient age keeps missing it. No single morning in the secret place will feel like it changed your life. It is the 10,000 ordinary mornings, stacked one on another over months and years, that slowly build a depth in a soul that nothing in this world can shake. It is exactly like the tree again. No one ever watched a root grow, and yet the whole towering life of the tree depends on that slow, invisible, unhurried work happening in the dark. So do not measure the secret life by how any single session feels. Measure it the way you measure a root over seasons, by the strength and the fruit it slowly, silently produces. The person who keeps the door and shows up in the room, day after unremarkable day, is building something in secret that will one day astonish everyone, including themselves. And understand what is truly being built in there, because it is far more than a habit. In that hidden room, God is quietly forming the real you. The person you are in secret, when no one is watching and there is no one at all to perform for, is the truest version of you there is. The public self is only ever the shadow that this hidden one casts. And so the secret place is where your actual character is being made, slowly, in the dark, entirely out of sight. This is why two people can live nearly identical public lives, and yet be utterly different underneath. One has been shaped, morning after hidden morning, by the presence of God, and the other has been shaped by whatever quietly filled the private hours instead. Who you are becoming is being decided right now, not in the visible moments that everyone sees, but in the secret ones that no one does. Give those hidden hours to God, and you are handing Him the very clay of your soul, and asking Him to make you into someone the public you could never have become on its own. And slowly, faithfully, something does begin to change, and it shows up exactly where Jesus said it would, out in the open, in the light, where everyone can see. The person who has been meeting God in secret begins to carry that secret with them everywhere. Their prayers, once so empty, begin to have weight. Things move when they pray. Their life, once so anxious and hurried, begins to have a strange steadiness, an unhurried peace, because they have been drinking from a hidden well all along. Their family feels it before they can name it, a quiet they bring home that was poured into them that morning in a room no one else ever saw. This is the open reward for the secret life, and it can never be counterfeited, because it is not a technique or a personality. It is the pure overflow of a hidden life with God, and everyone can see the fruit precisely because no one can see the root. And beneath all the other rewards, there is one that is sweeter than all of them put together, and it is the one the secret place exists for above everything else, a friendship with God that simply cannot grow anywhere else. You do not come to truly know a person in a crowd, or in public, or in performance. You come to know them in the quiet, over time, alone, when there is nothing to gain and nothing to prove. It is exactly the same with God. All the intimacy, all the nearness, all the deep and settled sense of being known by Him and of knowing Him is grown in the secret place and almost nowhere else. The people across history who seem to walk with God as with a friend were never given some special access that the rest of us are denied. They simply went into the room, again and again, and stayed, until the God who had always been there became as real to them as their own breath. That friendship is waiting for you tonight, behind the very same shut door. It is the greatest reward of the whole hidden life, and it already has your name written on it. Now let no one leave here confused about what to actually do behind that shut door, because vagueness is where most secret lives quietly die. It is far simpler than you fear. You open the book, not to gather more facts, but to listen, reading slowly, asking God to meet you in the words. You pray honestly, out loud if it helps, telling Him the plain truth about where you actually are instead of the polished version. You are silent for a while, and let Him be God without filling every second with your own noise. You confess what needs confessing, and you thank Him for what needs thanking, and you simply stay, longer than is comfortable in the presence of the one who is there. That is the whole of it. It is not complicated. But it is daily, and daily is precisely where nearly everyone falls. Not because the steps are hard, but because no one ever handed them a path to walk and a rhythm to keep while they learned to walk it. And so I have to say the hard thing plainly, because it must be said. A public faith with no secret room is a tree with no root, and a tree with no root may look green and full for a season, but it will not stand when the wind finally comes. You can build an entire visible Christianity, a reputation, a working knowledge of the Bible, a respected role in a church, and have no hidden life underneath any of it, and for a while no one will ever know, not even you. But there is no substitute for the secret place, and there never has been. The day of testing always comes for every one of us, and when it does, the only thing that holds is what was grown in the dark, in secret, on your knees, in the room no one saw. Do not spend your one life carefully decorating the branches while the root goes completely untended. It is far too common, and it does not end the way anyone hopes. So here is the invitation, and it is the most quietly powerful thing you could ever do with your life. Build the room, not someday, when it finally becomes convenient, because it never will. Tonight. It does not have to be impressive in the slightest. It can be a single chair in a corner, a closet with a door that shuts, a car in the driveway before you walk inside, a kitchen at 5 in the morning while the whole house still sleeps. What matters is not the where, but that it is yours, and it is regular, and it is secret, and that you go there to meet God and nothing and no one else. Start small enough that you cannot possibly fail. 10 honest minutes behind a shut door is worth infinitely more than the perfect hour you only ever plan and never pray. Then go back tomorrow, and the day after that. And on the dry days, the days it feels like nothing, go back anyway. Enter the room the world will never see, and begin at last to live in the hidden economy that almost no one has ever discovered. And here is the tenderest truth of all, the one that should finally lift you up off the fence. That door has never once been locked. It is not barred to you because of your past or your failures or the long years you spent walking right past it. The Father who sees in secret has been inside that room the entire time, not waiting to scold you for how long you took, but waiting the way a father waits for a child he loves, watching the door, longing for the moment you finally step in. Every single day you did not enter, he was still there. Every prayer you never prayed, he was still ready and glad to hear. There is no backlog of disappointment to clear first. No distance you must earn your way across. There is only an open door, and a presence on the other side of it, and a reward that has been ready and waiting for you since before you were ever born. All that has ever been missing from that room is you walking in. Because the promise still stands tonight exactly as Jesus first spoke it. Your Father, which seeth in secret, shall reward you openly. He is in that room right now, waiting, the way he has waited your whole life while you walked past the door. He is not impressed by the public performance, and he is not fooled for a moment by the borrowed faith, but he has never once failed to reward the person who finally comes and meets him in secret. So shut the door tonight. Get on your knees where no one at all can see, and discover, like every man and woman who has ever truly walked with God, that the most important room in your entire life is the one no one else will ever enter, and that the God who sees you there will reward you in time in ways the whole watching world will one day see.